My name is Rob Wilton, and I'm the lead pastor of Vintage Church. I want to take a few moments just to share with you about our story. Our story is a unique story. It actually begins here in New Orleans in 1981. I was born here in New Orleans. I was the firstborn in my entire family in the United States. I'm not your typical New Orleanian. My whole family's from South Africa, and my parents received a call from God to become missionaries in America. In 1988, when I was 7 years old, I was saved by the gospel, and I gave my life to Christ at the East Edgewater Baptist Church at a revival that my dad was preaching at. Fast forward a few years, at about the age of 14, I moved away from New Orleans and moved up to Spartanburg, South Carolina, where my dad was a pastor. And it was at that church when God began to work upon my heart about a call into full-time vocational ministry. A call that I embraced when I was playing college basketball as I worked at camp, and fell in love with a girl named Annabeth, who's my wife today. And in January of 2005, my wife and I returned to New Orleans. And we didn't know exactly what God was calling us towards. I was at the time working for a sports ministry, doing some work in the Ninth Ward. And I was also going to seminary. My wife was working as a massage therapist, and yes, that is awesome. And she was working in the Uptown area, so we began to develop a love for the Uptown area of New Orleans. But we know what happened in fall of 2005. Katrina hit, and it kind of messed up a few of our plans, but God was working in and through all of it. It was during that time when I was up in South Carolina praying about what was next that God really began to secure my call to the city of New Orleans. And when we came back in January of 2006, I began working for an organization called Mission Lab. I also started a ministry here in the city called Him and I, with an affiliation with another ministry called Ignite Mission. And our focus was really just to be Jesus in the city of New Orleans. It was through those two ministries that God led us to a call to the Uptown area of New Orleans. And as we began to journey in Uptown, my wife and I really just began to fall in love with the people. We got connected in with the needs, and we began to rally a core team of people who began to pray about being the church. Unexpectedly to me, I became pastor of a church, Valance Street Baptist Church, and that was kind of the beginnings of things. Even though we didn't hang out at that church for too long, God led us to plant a church in January of 2008. We started meeting in this very place. This is my home, right in Uptown. And we started to open up God's Word, looking at 1st and 2nd Timothy, walking through what Jesus tells us in regards to what it means to be the church and not just go to church. And then in the fall of 2008, we officially launched Vintage Church. Since our launch of Vintage Church, God has done some amazing things. We've seen people saved by the gospel. We've seen people baptized. Our community groups have multiplied. We've started new gatherings. And it's just been so incredible to experience the unbelievable evidence of God's grace.
Forever
From our very first Bible study, right off of Magazine Street in Uptown as Vintage Church began, to this location right here, right off of Cleary Avenue in the heart of Metairie, the DNA of Vintage Church has been multiplication, sending out leaders, going instead of asking for people to come. Well, fall of 2010, I was approached by Jonathan Griffin and some key people out here in the Metairie area who had begun to journey with us, coming all the way to Uptown for our worship gatherings and then having Bible studies. And we began to sense that God was calling us to do something out here. But I'll be perfectly honest, when Jonathan and his team approached us about starting a worship gathering in this area, I wasn't really for it at all. We had enough work going on in Uptown. But I'm so glad that I follow God's plans and not my plans, because God began to open up doors. In the fall of 2010, we had 4 worship gatherings, 2 at Lakeside Baptist Church and 2 right here, which was what was formerly known as Highland Baptist Church. In January of 2011, the Highland Baptist Church family and our church family out here became one church family, and we merged with this church, inheriting this amazing property behind us. Ever since then, we've been doing tons of work, restoring and getting this place ready for our official launch in September. And I want you to know, yes, we are happy about a property. Yes, we're happy to have a building finally. But this is not about buildings. This is about people. And we believe that God has called us to Jefferson Parish, to this Metairie area, because there's people in this area that need Jesus. We believe that God has some amazing things in store for us as we continue to live the gospel, love the city, and be the church.
People of God, rise up and shine. God's love. We are the light of the world, Oh, we are the light of the world,
When you reach the city, you impact the world. New Orleans is one of the most incredible, most unique global cities that you'll ever find. And we believe that this city desperately needs the gospel of Jesus. Because of that, Vintage Church has been called to gospel multiplication. This is what gospel multiplication is. We are committed to living the gospel, loving the city, being the church by multiplying individuals, community groups, and gatherings throughout New Orleans and really the world. We believe that God has done some amazing things in the life of our church up until this point, and we're so thankful to God for His evidences of grace and the many things that He's done. But we believe that the best is yet to come. We're so excited as we journey into the future, sharing with this city and sharing with the world about the gospel of Jesus Christ.